Dune is woke propaganda bullshit, and you need to learn to accept that. Hoo-wee, I'm ready. Red pill me, daddy.
I feel like lately it's been very common to come out and speak up about how obviously woke and propaganda focused To Kill a Mockingbird and Lord of the Flies are. And that's probably because they're universally studied in schools and they're
To Kill a Mockingbird is propagandized?
Probably something that we have like common ground on to talk about this.
For like a fair trial, I guess? Fair trials, wokeness.
And I 100% agree. You know, I've been very vocal about hating these books for a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, reading them again as an adult, like the older you get and the more experience you get, the more ridiculous it comes off.
Why are all of these guys in this living space? It keeps happening. Now, I'm seeing very few books behind him, though, so how am I to know if he's an intellectual or not? This is usually how I tell if one of these guys has read a book. He's saying he read books, though, so it's got the vibe still. That counts, I guess.
Okay, nothing about them makes any sense whatsoever.
What's this thing around his neck? Does he have like a safe dust? Is it magic dust or something?
And there's like so much you can talk about when it comes to these, especially if you read better books. The Coral Island, the book that inspired Lord of the Flies. Very interesting read, especially when you take into consideration how,
why are we looking off away? What is with that? I'm just getting this guy's weird profile.
Lord of the Flies tried.
He's not really talking into the mic or something?
Subverting and destroying its overall message, and it was just very pathetic and sad. Lord of the Flies sucks, okay? And,
Lord of the Flies sucks. This is the Nintendo guy? Yeah. Probably. I don't know.
With the Netflix version coming out and, everyone memeing about, like, how the black kids are going to be the good ones and stuff like that. Like, it seems like Lord of the Flies is going to be in vogue. But I think, like, more critically, and I do think this is, like, a very interesting thing, what exactly would be the Lord of the Flies equivalent for fantasy, okay?
Not Dune. So, Hunger Games? Yeah, maybe Hunger Games, actually. Honestly. But he would think that's woke, too, because the message is authoritarianism bad. In Lord of the Flies, it's child anarchy bad.
What exactly is the book that everyone worships as an all-time classic, that everyone thinks is great, that everyone says is, like, one of the best of all time?
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like, well, I want to come up with a hot take. Does this video have any views? I don't even know. It was just sent to me. No. 181 views. So no. This guy's name is Harmon. I've never heard of him.
Everyone won't stop soy-jacking about. That everyone
soy-jacking about? I'm going to be honest. I log off too much to like 100% understand what exactly soy-jacking is. But I'm guessing like a self-masturbatory woke performativity? Who up soy-jacking? No, what's soy-jacking? Actually jacking off? Oh, soy jack. Oh, never mind. I was thinking of soy jacking the No, never mind. The meme image. Oh, I verbed it. I was actually thinking of like, what's a verb for soy jacking? No, I get it now. I know what a soy jack is. My bad. That's less fun. That's less creative and interesting to me. Never fucking mind. Ignore that. Pointless. I thought I heard a new thing finally. Damn it. Soy jacking is people.
This is some hugely influential work. Yeah, it's Dune. Okay, Dune is basically the Lord of the Flies of fantasy. But Dune is sci-fi. Like, bro, you have dudes getting visions of the future through psychedelic drugs, okay?
Does Lord of the Flies have visions of the future? Is your eye okay? Does he always do this? I feel like there's something going on. He seems to be just closing it. It doesn't seem like fucked up or anything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being insensitive. I don't know. I don't think he would care, though. He doesn't get offended by stuff like that. I'm just wondering.
Dune is fantasy. Like, get that shit out of my face. Dune is not sci-fi. Okay, so Dune...
What do you mean Dune is not sci-fi? What? Would you say I have no mouth but I must scream is sci-fi or fantasy? Would you say that, like, the three body problem is sci-fi or fantasy? It's pretty foundational sci-fi. So, I mean, the difference between science fiction and fantasy is, I guess, that the trappings... Like, you could argue that Star Wars, which is a ripoff of Dune, is the fantasy thing, though. It definitely has more of that because it's really a difference between a hard science and a soft science in your magic system or your science system. In the fantasy book that I'm writing, which is quite woke, of course, it's I guess you could say it's in a lot of ways got science fiction because it's grounded in reality. Insofar, like, it's not an isekai or anything, like it happens in a fantasy world, but like it's grounded in like a logic. The magic system has rules, but that's not to say that I would call, like, if you read The Way of Kings, for instance, that has a sci-fi fantasy thing going on as well, and I think he would acknowledge that, Brandon Sanderson. And I still think, like, having read, a lot of these genres of books, Dune is not very fantasy at all. Like, it doesn't have any of the trappings of fantasy. It's a political, like ecological sort of like drama about how power corrupts people and colonization is bad, but not in a woke way, really. He kind of runs into colonization is bad and is very much... Like, Frank is very, very about, like, environments make people the way they are, and also these people are destabilizing Arrakis, but it's not, like, doing more of that is not going to solve it. I don't know that Frank has woke positions in the books, though. Like the female characters are not always super well-rounded. Like, Chani is very much just like a wife to have his kids, and her ending is very different if you've read the books. I'm excited for what Villeneuve has done. It's super sci-fi, though. It's like grand sci-fi. So good.
It's very, very interesting because the narrative has always been that, like, Dune is this super complex political drama about this guy who does this thing, and oh, it's so badass and cool. Like,
this guy who does this thing and it's so badass and cool. I don't know if any right winger has ever had the capability of real media literacy. It would be astonishing to have one of these guys have a good take on this. I don't think if you read Frank Herbert's actual words, you would think, yes, Paul Atreides is a badass. That's not the point.
Again, people don't really understand the point of Dune.
Neither do you, obviously.
And I think that's the problem, because the reason for that is because the books were never finished. People have this idea that, like, if Hubert lived long enough.
Hubert?
And he was able to finish the series.
Hubert? You don't even know who you're fucking talking about? I can't believe that a right-wing loser would spout off without having been educated on the topic. That's crazy, dude. Frank Hubert, of course. Famous Dune author.
Series, it would have made more sense. But no. The entire purpose behind Dune, from a structural standpoint, is to create the illusion that... basically to deconstruct, like, the heroic archetype. The savior, the messiah figure.
I don't think his whole idea... Like, Frank Herbert didn't set out with just the thesis, I'm going to deconstruct the hero's journey, because he doesn't really... I don't think he really fully deconstructs it, because obviously still Chuds to this day do not understand that he did that. I think to some degree it was that, but it was more like the point was... I mean, he really wanted to get his jimmies out about how ecologies work and, like, environments affect things. And, he really liked to talk about that. He had big, weird, freaky ideas in the sci-fi genre. Very much looking forward to Guild Navigators and the Messiah movies when they come out, or the Messiah movie when it comes out. But, like, is he more of, like, power is corrupting and you cannot be like the chosen one can't really pull this off. Like, this isn't going to work. It's also a critique on, like, religions and how they move around and force people to act in certain ways and how those interact and interplay with capital and colonial systems, though I don't know that he had a leftist approach to this. Like, I don't think Frank was invoking Marx when he was thinking about this by any stretch.
The entire point is don't look up to other people, bro. Don't think anyone's gonna come to save you. Oh, he's gonna have to kill people. Oh, if you're gonna have power. Oh, he's gonna do things. Oh, he's gonna wage a war. That's terrible. Oh, there's nothing good has ever come from war. Oh, like, again,
nothing good has ever come from war. Guy who can't walk a mile. I don't know why it's always these guys who will never be subject to war who are like, it's good and based to do war. The only way that this guy will experience war is if he's a victim of it. So Paul Atreides, spoilers for the Dune series, Paul Atreides is a product of circumstance and other people's express machinations on trying to bring about what they would consider some kind of chosen one, on the one hand, to control and manipulate in order to bring about more thorough authoritarian power at the hands of like the Bene Gesserit, but also it was supposed to be him, and so it's like sort of a mistake because Jessica had a boy instead of a girl, and so it's got this like boy who ends up being called the Chosen One, but the Chosen One doesn't really exist. It's not really about not looking up to people, because there's lots of characters. Duncan Idaho is a great example of a guy who Frank Herbert thinks is just so dope and who you should like, you know, he's a standard of masculinity. I don't think he thinks everyone is 100% good or 100% bad, because he has nuance or whatever, unlike a right-wing freak. But I definitely think he was someone who did not like an authoritarian approach. I think you could delineate between looking up to people and like admiring other human beings, which is definitely a thing you can do, versus like subjugating yourself and worshiping a person and like becoming part of their cult of personality. And that's what he was talking about.
Like, the entire point of it really is to like deconstruct the notion of like the hero, right? The idea is that Paul, hates what he does, hates what he's doing, hates what society has made him into, and is just kind of like, oh man, I wish I could just go in the middle of nowhere and bang my native GF instead of being stuck in this weird loveless marriage. Ugh. Like, Paul is just...
So a guy that doesn't experience human connection is like, oh, that's such a stupid thing to care about. And it's like, I love that he's framing love as banging my native GF because he has never experienced consensual human touch before. So that's an issue. It is a weird thing to focus on. Yeah. So it's about Paul not having, the dichotomy of, on paper, having as much control as anyone could possibly have in this universe, and also being entirely bereft of any control. You know what I mean? It's the illusion of control, and trying to be able to control it is Paul's downfall and like negative side, right? Where he thinks, okay, if I can follow this golden path, I can get all the things I personally want, and also make sure that humanity has a path forward, and like maybe I can get Arrakis out of here. I can do certain good things, but like it's going to be at the cost of this. It's about the idea that he doesn't actually have the kind of control that even people fantasize about having when they're like, oh, I want to control the world or whatever. And this guy controls like the fucking galaxy. Yeah. And he has depression, and he doesn't want to live a life that is controlled for him, but like,
Like, he's set up to be, like, the stereotypical hero, right? He's set up to do these things. He's set up to, like, to do all this for, like, the natives of Arrakis, like, he's...
Arrakis? Why would you just not inform yourself of the topic?
He's set up to, like, overthrow the Emperor and all that. And, like, he does that, but, like, oh, no, bad things happen, oh... Like, again,
oh no, bad things happen. Oh, what do you want? So the book is about explaining all these systems, and you want him not to continue doing a systemic critique of the thing? Like, it just sounds like you're not man enough to read the words, I guess. This guy is absolutely drool-brained.
It's very boomer-coded in this sense, where they have this mentality that, like, having power and using it and, like, destroying your enemies is somehow, like, a bad thing.
Destroying your enemies. I don't think Frank described destroying his enemies as a bad thing. Like, I don't think he was like, and it was so bad to kill all the Harkonnen, soldiers or whatever. No, I still think he likes and understands that there's a necessity for some form of violence when trying to change these kinds of systems. But I also think that because he is a human being with thoughts and connections and human interactions, that he doesn't like how it makes him feel when he knows that his actions, with the prescience gifted to him by the, the fucking powers that he gets, right? His fucking prescience, his spice melange sense. He knows with clarity the stuff that's going to happen, right? And that's not a normal experience for a person to have. Usually it's very self-centered, and they can still do these things and not have the knowledge, like they can deny it and bury it and disassociate from it, where Paul is not allowed to, and he experiences the outcomes of not being able to disassociate from that. Whereas this guy just has like fantasies of like playing an RTS game. He reads Ender's Game and he thinks the same thing. Like, why would Ender be upset that he killed people but didn't know?
This is like kind of one of the more insidious things about boomer ideology that I think a lot of people don't really talk about, because it hasn't really. Again, we're still getting to the point where people are accepting that like things in the 90s were woke and propaganda-ish, like let alone like staples of classic 60s literature. But like the idea that like you have to go out.
How is this man-tittied motherfucker going to be like, I'm a white supremacist? He can't even look into the camera. Both of his eyes don't even fucking work. He doesn't have a living space that has any sort of character to it. He lives like this. How can he be telling anybody that this is like, well, this is the only fucking way to be? I don't understand. Herbert's older than a boomer, right?
And do certain things, to get a result, that you have to use your power for the benefit of your people. Like, that's something that's very anemic to boomers. Like, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to take responsibility for anything. They don't want to do anything. And so they have this, like, mentality of just, like, everyone's out for themselves, bro. Like, just take care of yourself, bro. And then they just don't really, like, do anything for other people.
What do you do for other people, man? It sounds like you have the same mentality. It sounds like you think I should have the entitlement of boomers and also the lack of critical thinking to self-inspect my own role in this. Just fucking keeps happening.
And that worked for them because the economy was so good.
Why was the economy good under the woke 90s? All this wokeness of the 90s. Oh, it was because corporations weren't considered people? It was because workers had a better share of profits? It was because there was more ethical equity among people in general across lines, and it was improving, and it kept improving for a while. And then every time we get Republicans or anti-wokes in there, it gets worse. That's not to say I even like the liberals. I don't like liberals. I think they're half-measured pussies as well, and often in the pockets of moneyed interests.
And they were able to just exploit other people indefinitely. But like, again, like the end result of that was that, like, they didn't cultivate, like,
exploit other people indefinitely. Like, he seems to have some awareness that there is a system of exploitation, which he likes, of course, from the center of the empire, which only should include white people. We exploit external countries and entities and take their stuff. That's good, but you also can't just take it for granted. You have to keep exerting that power and make sure that this artificial hierarchy stays in place. He seems to have an awareness that this is artificial and needs to be maintained. So that's interesting. I just think this guy's just a straight up Nazi. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
The future. They're not passing the wealth down. They're not training anybody. They're not like invested in the future at all. They just shrug their shoulders and just go like,
Of course they're not invested in the future. They're conservative Christians. And you cuck for them, even if you say that they suck, man.
I'm glad I'll be dead by then. Oh, I lived through the best period ever to be alive. Oh, like,
yeah. So definitely the exact opposite of like Dune's philosophy on things. The idea that Arrakis will someday be returned to the Fremen under better ecological conditions is like what I think Frank thinks ought to happen for the Fremen. But, it's not gonna, the best way to do that is not through hyper colonization and making a big emperor of a guy.
That's basically what Doom is. Like, it is
Doom?
basically
This guy cannot keep his brain straight.
proto-boomer ideology in that sense. It pushes the same kind of worldview. Like, the idea that because Paul overthrew the emperor and, like, installed himself, like, that means that, oh no, Paul's gonna do bad things. Oh, he would have been way happier if he hadn't done that.
Because exerting artificial control over human beings doesn't feel good. Like, there's no satisfaction at the end of it. You will never find what you're looking for in that pursuit. You will never be able to control it. The only thing you can do is collectivize to ensure high levels of well-being and allow freedom therein for everybody to live as happily as they can. But killing the emperor was a revenge quest, not for the Fremen. True, he was mad about his dad getting killed and how the emperor played the pieces on the chessboard to get that done. Because Leto was an uppity guy trying to usurp the throne a little bit with his being charismatic or something.
You know, and he just allowed like this to continue. Like, no, it's a bad message. It's straight up retarded. And like, the interesting thing about it is just how
every single time these guys talk, they basically just go, "No, I don't like it. It's insert a slur that has no fucking, I don't really have a point."
so many people are unwilling to accept this. You know, people aren't willing to acknowledge that this is straight up political propaganda. That this
It's political propaganda? Dude, I'm sorry to tell you, Frank Herbert was not a fan of political propaganda or the American government or any of them, frankly. He would reject this outright. Like, you just can't read. Your literacy is non-existent.
This is very antithetical to like classic storytelling and heroic archetypes, and like they want to like present Dune as being this like very grand like influential work when like it's really not. Like, they'll try and tell you that like, well, Star Wars
Dune is definitely an influential work. Why are you pretending that that's not the case? It's not influential. No, he professes despite the obvious truth.
was influenced by it. Yeah, Star Wars was also shit. So like, again, like this is stuff that like people have been talking about for years, but until recently.
So I guess the point is, I don't like anything that other people like, which is pretty obvious. It makes me cooler, obviously, even though I'm alone in this fucking room. There's nobody fucking here, never will be.
Like, this is something that just hasn't been able to come up. That just hasn't been talked about much. That just hasn't been brought up. Like, people are willing to like accept Dune at face value, like only reading the first book and then stopping without really taking into consideration what like the follow-ups are supposed to be about. And like why nobody seems to care for them as much. Because Dune is like, it really is a Netflix series, like published as like a 60s sci-fi book series.
Tablet ass brain. I don't even know. The book is like a Netflix series. Shut up. It's not like a Netflix series whatsoever. I fucking don't know what that even would mean. Dune books are considered kind of like challenging reads for a lot of people. He talks a lot about his personal philosophy on things. He talks a lot about politics in the world and schemes and stuff. Sometimes, sure, maybe there's going to be attack cats. Sometimes there might be a guy that comes back because of the nanobots or something.
Actually, if you really think about it, it's the same general concept where they like introduce like the based heroic archetype going up against society and having this epic W, and then slowly start like subverting and destroying it with like woke ideology. It's the same formula. Like, it absolutely is. Like, and when you compare it to something like Lord of the Rings instead, right?
Lord of the Rings is a war story, even though, Tolkien does not want you to say that it is a World War I story about pals in times of war. It's about friendship and people overcoming things in times of war. That's what it is. Against what unsurmountable force, and then little acts can be big things. It's like the opposite. It's like, what if Sauron thought he was a good guy, which he did, and he wasn't magical necessarily, but he was told he was magical, but he really just had he just had the blue juice, which is a science. His whole criticism is that the story isn't hero story enough. I guess you can't subvert anything. You can't take a different approach because then it's bad or something. I don't know.
Right, which does a way better job, I think, of introducing the core conflict, resolving it, and then
Smoking
like
blunts was a daily routine since 13. I was a fat kid smoking weed too.
His dwelling is sad and joyless, much like him. It's woke and gay to make art that isn't the same thing over and over. True.
kind of emphasizing that like just because we fix this problem doesn't mean that like more problems aren't going to arise, because they beat Sauron, they go back to the Shire, and like oops, like everything's fallen to shit, because of Sauron, because of like all that.
Talking about the scouring of the Shire at the end.
Like again, like
that was not in the movie.
Look, the Lord of the Rings does a way better job kind of emphasizing what actual conflicts look like and how.
I disagree. No. What do you mean what actual conflicts look like? No, no. That's not true. No one reads Lord of the Rings for the nitty-gritty on how actual warfare feels. Not the case. Dune is 100% much more about the behind the scenes of these activities than Lord of the Rings is. Lord of the Rings' perspective is far away from the machinations of any evil people. It is all in reaction to the world that is existing and camaraderie through that practice. Where the assassins of Lord of the Rings, you could call the Nazgul assassins in some ways. They're out there looking. The arms dealers and companies, where are the people profiting from this? Lord of the Rings doesn't have Chom. They don't have anything. Lord of the Rings has bad guy with orcs. And then Saruman switches sides, and he's like, look, I see the writing on the wall. We got to side with this guy, or we're going to lose.
They're actually resolved. And, like, it actually emphasizes how people...
I'd say what Dune and Lord of the Rings have most in common is ecological decay as a result of war, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Rise up to challenge them, and then, like, after the fighting is done, like, return to living their normal lives, like how it is in real life, essentially. Dune does this weird thing where instead it tries to like present this idea that like you shouldn't even try, that like you shouldn't like. So
there is so much trying in Dune. It's about trying so hard. Dune is so try hard. Like that is the opposite. Everybody in Dune is like trying to be the very top that they can be and gain all the different edges and transcend humanity, looking for the perfect experience. This guy who kills the Emperor makes more enemies and has to fight a galactic war. It's crazy.
Support leaders, that you shouldn't have this kind of like idea of what you want society to be like, and that you want how you want your world to be, and like rallying with other like-minded people. Like it kind of
with other like-minded people that not everybody agrees with. Reiterating your unnatural desire to exert control over other people and dictate how they live is never going to work. And when you try to force that, there's strife, no matter what. Like the best takeaway you could get from the Dune books is that everybody should decolonize and it would stop. But then they wouldn't be able to harvest spice, and then they would have to stop their way of life. I wonder if there's any sort of correlation between that and anything else. Probably not. Don't look very deep into how Western nations, not even America, acts, especially not towards oil-bearing nations. Nope.
Humanizes that concept by like associating it with like religious fanaticism and all that. It's essentially like Dune. The more you learn about it and think about it, becomes increasingly retarded. And
you just keep saying this over and over without really having a reason to.
I feel as if like a lot of people in this space who grew up reading Dune and like genuinely think it's based, they don't really want to accept this, and this is something that we're really going to have to get past.
So I think what the criticism here is he's like telling other right-wingers, guys, this book is not on our side. And so anything that isn't take my side explicitly is bad, which is weird because I'm a leftist and Frank is not. But I think Dune is cool for what it is, It's just not based, it's just interesting. It is cool. It's a cool series of books. Herbert was a fucking right-wing libertarian. Relative to us, for sure, but he certainly wasn't MAGA like this. This is crazy. I don't think he held on to that kind of racism either. He sort of held on to like a romanticized sort of, we'll call it a noble savage racism. Orientalist as fuck, very into it. Oh yeah, I want to know about Orientalism, but that's probably true. I wouldn't say it's a based book by any stretch. I don't think that's the point of it.
You know, we're really gonna have to start addressing why media like this is dangerous and how
it's dangerous. Ban Dune immediately. It's too dangerous.
How much of a negative impact it's had on society. Again, this is what influenced Star Wars, which
dude, I hope I have a negative impact on society. Holy shit.
Is the pinnacle of like man-child fantasy. Okay, people have spent their entire lives obsessing over Star Wars instead of actually like doing anything productive.
Why are you pretending that you do productive things, buddy? You're right here in front of us.
Or like, fighting to like improve real world conditions. You know, all they care about is like,
what are you doing? What are you doing right now?
Oh man, I want to see like Anakin racing the pods. Oh, like it's pathetic. It is absurd, and it's something that we should outright come out and condemn. It's something that we do need to address more. Is how much of classic media is actually woke subversive propaganda slop.
How much is it? I think right-wingers have a very strenuous time because they have to hate everything. If you like stuff that's woke and gay, and so you lose your points. And this guy needs every fucking please pick me point I can get because he's not holding up to the right-wing standards. He's not exactly Chad maxing, let's say that. I'll never understand white supremacists who look like this.